Hey guys, welcome to the HorrorScope. I'm RosseeBou19 or Ross. Please check out my main channel, the link will be below. So if you watched Why Taco Films video and DVD Collectors video the day before, you'll know that this week is a week where we're talking about horror movies or slasher movies. I think everyone's doing slasher movies, pretty much, yeah. We're talking about the original and the remake and comparing them and talking about what we like, what we didn't like. And yeah, basically original and remake week is what we're calling it. So if you watched James's, he done The Fog, Chris or Why Taco Film done The Hills Have Eyes. Two amazing films in terms of I prefer the original Fog, but I prefer the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. Granted, I have not seen the original Hills Have Eyes, so I've got nothing to work on. But I really enjoyed their videos. I love The Fog, like I said. I think that's a fantastic film. Now, we discuss every week what films we're going to be talking about. And everyone was so great and, let me do a film that I know is pretty popular in terms of, the original's popular and the remake's pretty popular. Now there are so many to pick from. I could have picked My Bloody Valentine, I could have picked Black Christmas, April Fool's Day, anything like that. Sorry. I could have picked anything like that, but I went with an absolute classic. Following James's video or DVD Collector, I'm going to go with John Carpenter's classic Halloween. Now this was released in 1978, and you'll actually be surprised that wasn't received very well at first. It was, it was made very independently. It was literally, they made it for, correct me if I'm wrong, 33,000 plus an additional 20,000, I think, that they paid Donald Pleasence to be in it. So it stars Jamie Lee Curtis, daughter of Janet Leigh from Psycho. You've got PJ Soles, Nancy Loomis, and of course the legend that is Donald Pleasence. And this is a classic in film, not just in horror, but this film created one of cinema's most influential and most terrifying monster, Michael Myers. As you can see on the back, there he is there. This is a fantastic film. It's so simple yet so creepy. You've got elements that were brought from one of John Carpenter's favourite films, Black Christmas, with the kind of camera, kind of tracking in and kind of panning the house and stuff at the start in the opening scene, just as in Black Christmas, which was a really great addition. It had a really eerie, creepy, sinister feel to it. It's a fantastic film. I cannot recommend the original enough. There's no negatives whatsoever. I literally had notes written down, and my only negative was, and it wasn't even a negative, do you think they realised when they were filming that PJ Soles says the word totally too much? I wonder if they noticed that, did they just go with it, I don't know, but anyway, that's the only thing that was negative to me. But I highly recommend picking this up. The Blu-ray in the UK goes for really, really cheap. I think you can get it for like £5 on Amazon, which is brilliant and really shocking for a masterpiece film. You can get this DVD, which is the standard Anchor Bay release, Anchor Bay Horror Classics it says. You can get this for like £3, £2, £3, depending. And this is basically, I think this is one of the only films that's probably released everywhere. And this year is actually the 35th anniversary, so I am really grateful to be reviewing this film on its 35th year. As I said, this was very influential, and it was a really big, it's been a really big inspiration for me as I want to be a filmmaker. This is one of the films I would really look at. That has inspired me to want to write a lot of kind of horror, psychological thriller kind of scripts. and screenplays and stuff. So I have a lot of praise for this film, and I have a lot to thank for this film. So yeah. So I'm not going to get into the story too much. Recently, Michael Myers escaped from a mental institute, stalks babysitters in his hometown of Haddingfield, and yeah, that's basically the story. So, and just to think you guys thought this was going to be a happy review. Now, Halloween remake. Now, I do have an unboxing of this on this channel on the HorrorScope. You can go and check it out. What can I say about this? One word, 2 words. Rob Zombie. Wow. Wow. I watched this today, and I was talking, as I always do, to a DVD collector and Why Taco Film, and I was saying to them, I jumped all the way through this. Now, the one thing that I'll say about this is that no matter how many times I watch this, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. It is, no matter how much it's kept. John Carpenter has that way with his films, like, like The Ward, Halloween, The Fog, They Live, things like that, where no matter how many times you watch it, it still gets to you, and it's still, that's what I love about this. But this one was more modern, generic, and made me jump a lot, right? And I've seen this, and I was like, now, to be fair, I've not seen it quite as often as the original, just because I'll be honest, I didn't really like it. I'm not going to be honest, I didn't like it. I thought it was a load of garbage that, Rob Zombie just threw some, threw some hot actresses, told them to, get naked and get kind of, jump about screaming. That's really what I seen this film as. But, I will say one thing I've always liked. The one thing that made me keep watching it was Scout Taylor Compton, who took on a pretty iconic role and a pretty pressurising role to take on. She obviously took on Laurie, played very, very well in the original by Jamie Lee Curtis. But I'm going to put that down now. Sorry guys. I thought she done such an amazing job. Obviously no one can fill the shoes of Jamie Lee Curtis, but she brought her own sense of innocence to the role, and I really like that. I am a really big fan of Scout Taylor Compton. I loved her in even the crap films that she was in. I liked her in The Runaways, which is one of my favourite independent films. So you've got her in The Runaways. She was in the April Fool's Day remake, which was hit or miss. If you see it cheap, pick it up, but it's not worth, searching for. She was in a film called Triple Dog, which I reviewed on my main channel, and things like that. So she's pretty well known. She was also in a lot of kind of kids comedies, back in the kind of early 2000s. But anyway, I thought she'd done this role so well, and that's the reason I kept watching it. And my original review, I write reviews just for myself, and I actually looked that out, and I gave this movie 5 out of 10, and I gave it 2.5 stars, which I thought was a bit rough, because when I watched it, I watched the uncut one, because that's the only one that was available in the UK at the time, and I think it still is, because when this came out, I was, trying to think how old I would be in 2007, I was 15, so I wouldn't have been allowed to see it, and when it came out, obviously it's an 18. So I really thought it was shocking. I'm not going to go into the plot, because the plot's basically the same. Michael Myers escapes and goes back to Haddingfield to contact Laurie, but I'll go into more of that in a minute. I'll go into more detail into the plot, because there are several differences, and I'll go into that in a minute. But with the remake, because I don't know if it's because I love the original so much, but I will say now that I really, really respect Rob Zombie, 100%, always have, even when I didn't like this film. I always respected him for taking on such a challenge as to, you know, making Halloween, the remake. I've always really highly respected him, thought that he was, you know, very brave taking this on, especially, you know, trying to fill Carpenter's shoes in a way, you know. But, you know, the second time I watched it, and what I done was I actually got a hold of the theatrical cut, and I watched that, and I prefer the theatrical cut. And if you've seen the uncut, you'll probably know why. I am not too into extreme violence, and there's a scene at the start of the uncut one before Michael escapes, which is really disturbing, and I don't like it. I can't watch films that put that in for no reason. You know, I don't like it. So yeah, and that's, you know, like, first time I seen this film and I seen that, it put me off the whole film just because it was in there for no reason. And I don't want to say it because, you know, that reminds me of it. I don't like thinking about it, but anyway. But yeah. But then when I seen the theatrical cut, I was like, you know, this is actually a really good film. I really enjoyed it when I seen the theatrical cut. But then I thought, you know what, Rob Zombie has his, you know, a unique vision, as the trailer said. So I gave the uncut one a chance, and I liked it, and I genuinely really enjoyed it. So, but today I decided to watch the theatrical cut just because it's, in my opinion, the better cut, and the much tighter cut as well. I just enjoyed it a lot more. And in my opinion, I think it's kind of even. It's a much better story in the theatrical cut. I just feel like the uncut one with the added gore here, you know, a bit more nudity there, you know, stuff like that. So, but anyway. Moving on to the casting again. You've got Malcolm McDowell, correct me if I'm wrong saying his name, playing Dr. Loomis. I thought, sorry for my language, but I really thought that he made Dr. Loomis out to be a bit of a dickhead. Just saying, just throwing that out there. Because in the original, Donald Pleasence played him so well, and so, you know, he genuinely cared about the welfare of Laurie, and at the same time, he even though he knows Michael was a monster, you could see that he had that kind of doctor-patient relationship. But in this, all he really cared about, obviously he didn't want anyone to get killed by Michael, obviously, but it was more about, you know, trying to promote his book. Like, you know, like when you're talking to the sheriff, he's like, oh, I've read it in my book. It's like, who gives a fuck if you wrote it in your book? Sorry for swearing, but I thought he played the role really well. It was a different take on the role, but I'm just a really big fan of Donald Pleasence playing Dr. Loomis. But, you know, who am I to say anything about that? But anyway. Okay, so moving on to more casting, we have Danielle Harris taking on Nancy Loomis's role of Annie. Now, spoilers, I should have mentioned that, I'll try and put it at the start, but there's going to be spoilers throughout this. Now, Annie is played by, I don't think I've given you guys any spoilers, sorry if I have already, but there's going to be spoilers from here on in. Now, Danielle Harris, you guys will know from, you know, Urban Legends, Stakeland, and the Halloween 4 and 5. And she came back, obviously quite iconic in the Halloween franchise and horror, blah blah blah, you know. You all know the story about Danielle Harris, right? So she came, and she's a 17-year-old now, she's in her 30s. She is hot, by the way, but I'll let you know. But that's not the point. But, you know, she played that 17-year-old, and she did it pretty well. I think she looked 17. First time I've seen it, I thought she was, but anyway. What was I saying? I got off the subject there. Danielle Harris. Hold on. Yes, this isn't going well. Sorry, I'm really tired, guys. I'm sorry. So yeah, so she played Annie. I felt that he didn't give Linda the girl who played Linda, I don't know her name. I could be mistaken, but is it Christina something? I'm not 100% sure. If you guys know the actress's name who played Linda, please let me know down below. But yeah, so I felt like they didn't give Linda enough screen time, whereas in the original, maybe it was because in the original, like Danielle Harris, PJ Souls was pretty well known for Carrie and for a couple other things in the 70s, maybe that's why. But I felt like they spent too much time on Danielle Harris because she was, known. And they changed the roles. I feel like they changed the roles around of Linda and Annie and made Annie a bigger character than Linda, even though in the original they have basically equal parts. Another thing that I noticed is that what actually happens to Annie, right? Because it seems that when Michael, is strangling Linda, he kind of kills her instantly. But when it comes to Annie, he kind of, throws her about the house a couple of times. She's screaming, running about, as you do in a horror film. And then he kind of drags her into this room, and then it goes to a different scene, and I'm just like, and then I'm like assuming that she's dead. That's what happens in the original. I'll go on to something else actually about Annie as well. Anyway, and then Laurie and Lindsay come into the house, and she's lying there covered in blood. She's still alive, and I'm like, if you're going to stick to the original story, Annie dies. Maybe she dies later on in the film, I don't know, or maybe you assume that she died, but she doesn't die, and it really annoys. You can't do that. You can't just change the story just because it's Danielle Harris. Maybe that's not why. Maybe the original script, Rob Zombie maybe just thought, that he wanted more than one, survivor. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying that if that was the reason, if the reason that he kept Annie alive was because it was played by Danielle Harris, I think that's really unfair. But moving on. In the original, Annie dies in a car. She gets strangled by Michael in a car. I think she gets strangled in a car. Yes, she does. But in this one, that's why she doesn't die. And I'm like, that's weird. They didn't even... There was nothing really that Annie, and I'm not saying anything bad about Danielle Harris. She played the role fantastically. I really like Danielle Harris. I think she's a brilliant actress, but she didn't really, it wasn't really the same as Annie in the original. Obviously, for a remake, you don't really want the exact same performance. You want it to be different, but anyway. I've ranted on, I've bored you guys enough. I'm going to end it here by saying, by far, my favourite is the original Halloween, but I really, really did enjoy the remake. This is probably my fourth or fifth time watching it all the way through. I've seen it, on the TV, kind of in bits, and I've kind of put it on, started it, and got bored and turned it off. Not got bored, but it's not my favourite remake. It's one of the best, I'll admit that. In my opinion, my favourite remake is Hills Have Eyes, then Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then this, and then My Bloody Valentine. That's just my opinion. Whether you guys have different ones, it's up to you. But I am going to give the Halloween remake a bit higher than 5. I'm going to give it 7. 7 out of 10. 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. It was a good film. It's very, very modern, but it's very modern. It's very, sex, drugs, all that. Sex, drugs, drinking. They basically brought a modern twist onto a classic story, which is fine, And this, unfortunately, was followed by the disgrace that was Halloween 2, or H2, in 2009, which was absolute utter shit. Don't watch that. So James, I am going to give you, sorry, what am I saying? I thought of horror for a minute there. James and Chris, I'm going to give you guys a big shout out because I thought that your reviews were fantastic, and I also want to welcome Kayla to the HorrorScope channel. She's going to be on our Sunday spot, so welcome Kayla, and please check back tomorrow with us because Karate Popcorn or Robin will be with you guys. I don't know what she's picking, so I'll be watching as well to see what she picks. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye.